It is my great pleasure as the Vice President and CEO of the Prince Albert II of Monaco.
He's muted.
Olivier, you've just muted for some reason. Sorry.
Muted again. It is my great pleasure as Vice President and CEO of the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation to open this virtual event organized by the Edinburgh Ocean Leaders program in the framework of the Monaco Ocean. Thank you very much for joining us today, wherever you are, given the online nature of the Monaco Ocean Week this year. The Monaco Ocean Week, in the words of His Serene Highness Prince Albert II of Monaco, provides a unique forum for discussions, meetings, experimentation and opportunity. It is a testimony to Monaco's close history with the ocean and to our common commitment to retain a healthy and functioning ocean that feeds us, reduces risks, inspires us, not to mention supporting one out of every 2 breaths we take. We are at a crucial juncture for the ocean and for the planet, and we know that. And we know that because we already have a great body of knowledge in science that has established the facts, whether in terms of climate change or loss of biodiversity. Granted, we welcome more science, in particular on ocean issues for which we are barely scratching the surface of what exists below it. Scientists and researchers among you, I urge you to work harder and mobilize even more of your fellow minds to help fill the gaps in our understanding. We also know what we should be aiming at. And mind you, it's a great effort to get to. Collective objectives and targets are set. For example, the Paris Agreement told us to reach 1.5 degrees by the end of the century. The Aigrette targets set goals for protected species and species. The 2015 UN SDG have established 17 collective goals for the planet, from zero hunger to good health, from clean water to decent jobs, and for conserving life underwater, SDG 14. So translating these higher goals and visions into local plans, sectoral objectives and business models, this is what we need the leaders and policymakers among you to focus on now. Lastly, we have a pretty good idea of the solutions in all areas. For SDG 14, for example, action is about ending overfishing, stopping illegal fishing, prohibiting certain fishery subsidies, and strengthening the marine protected areas. It's all spelled out in SDG 14. But action is timid, lacking scale and integration, and sustained over time. And we often fall short of getting the results. Deadlines are being postponed, goals reiterated at the next round of negotiations. And while we rewind over and over again, we are losing some of the services and functionality of the marine ecosystem. So strong leadership is required to now take us to getting things done. Leadership comes in many forms, but I would say it is about doing things differently and thoroughly. A new generation of ocean change makers, as per the motto of the Edinburgh Ocean Leaders program, leaders in science who can reach out to decision makers, leaders in policies who can integrate issues and break silos, leaders in facilitation that would bring together all stakeholders, leaders in communication who can bring forward facts and figures for all to understand, leaders in finance who can broker deals for investors to invest in nature. This is what the Edinburgh Ocean Leaders program is about. And at the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation, we are proud to support this program along with the University of Edinburgh. For we have the same vision, which is to say, to accelerate the leadership, the creativity, and the influence of exceptional environmental professionals working together to make a significant positive impact on the health of the world's ocean. The Foundation certainly aims to put greater effort to accompany initiatives that offer capacity and opportunities in favor of young leaders. We shall do our share as well to ensure that we welcome emerging leaders into our events and activities, like the invitation to the Monaco Blue Initiative. And I would like to salute here the Edinburgh Ocean Leaders who took part as panelists in the Monaco Blue Initiative. Well done. In conclusion, I would like to encourage more of you to think of yourselves as leaders, push boundaries, think out of the box and get things done. We welcome your experiences and insights today, and we'll be attentive to your ideas and suggestions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olivier, for the introduction. You took the words out of our mouths, and for welcoming us to the Monaco Ocean Week and reminding us of the diversity of challenges before us, but also the diversity of leadership that we have among us. I'm Charlie Gough, and I'm the Technical Advisor for Fisheries Management and Conservation with Blue Ventures, a PhD student at the University of Exeter and an Edinburgh Ocean Leader, and also your chair for this panel conversation about leadership in oceans. As the 2020 Ocean Leaders, we've been reflecting this past year on what it is to be a leader, what types of leadership might be needed over the coming decade to really bring about the seismic changes that are needed to improve ocean health. We found ourselves thinking that achieving a truly transformative ocean decade will require us to think like a team, to champion leadership across all levels and generations, bring together diverse people, perspectives, empower local leadership, champion young people, and amplify their voices. In this session, we'll hear from some of those voices and hopefully widen our own perceptions of what a leader looks like, and with them, explore opportunities around how ocean leadership can be more inclusive if we dare to think differently. Some of our speakers today are joining from the Pacific, Indonesia, and Madagascar, so please do bear with us for any connection issues, technical hiccups. Each of the panel has prepared a short presentation. So first off, we'll hear from our panel about their experiences and stories of diverse leadership. After those presentations, we'll follow that with some reflections from each of the panelists on those presentations. And then finally, we have Hugo Talcon from the NGO Surfers Against Sewage, who'll be leading a Q&A with the panelists. If you do have questions for our panel, please pop them in the chat and Hugo will be putting your questions to the team. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our panel speakers and our first panelist this afternoon, Dr. Meriwether Wilson.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Great, perfect. Okay, well, thank you very much, Charlie. And thank you, Olivier, for your wonderful introduction, and also to Sylvie Goyer and all those involved with this year's special digital Monaco Ocean Week. I start with some very brief words on my background as this leads to the Edinburgh Ocean Leaders program, which is the source of today's event. I received my undergraduate and master's degrees from Duke and Yale in the US and was fortunate even then that these schools were progressive in considering relationships between people and environment and in marine science. During my first 10 years after university, I was so lucky to get to work all over the Pacific on small island ecosystems and communities with various international partners. And then I jump scale to join the World Bank in the early 1990s, just as the Global Environment Facility was getting started, GEF. And we worked alongside other UN agencies on regional seas and large-scale marine ecosystems for the next decade. Subsequently, I finally gained a PhD at the University of Washington, leading to where I am now, a faculty position at the University of Edinburgh, where I've been for the past 10 years and plan to stay, focusing on marine science and policy. A highlight of my tenure has been founding an interdisciplinary master's in marine science and policy, linking diverse disciplines with professional practice from students around the world. So, about the ocean leaders. As we've just heard now from Olivier, the challenges facing the ocean are immense. Climate change, over-extraction, pollution, together these pose an existential threat to marine ecosystems and the societies who depend upon them. I've seen these changes in my lifetime, which is longer than I wish, I think. However, I also see grounds for optimism. Through my own journey and with outstanding colleagues I've had the honor to work with and count as friends over the years, I realized there was an opportunity to do something additional and creative in empowering others. I observe the importance and impact of exceptional individuals who forge successful careers that benefit both people and nature. These individuals are creative, have strong interpersonal skills, and are able to see the importance of the context they're working in. This led myself, along with Professor Sandy Tudhope, who's also a marine academic at Edinburgh with extensive leadership experience. We created the Edinburgh Ocean Leaders program as a vehicle to support transformative, positive change for the ocean. The philosophy is simple. Through a global nomination process, exceptional mid-career ocean professionals are identified from diverse geographies and sectors, spanning conservation, business, entrepreneurship, policy, advocacy, education, and media. The Ocean Leaders program provides leadership skills, coaching, confidence, and connections to create a globally distributed, lifelong network that empowers these leaders to be even more effective change makers. This program was designed to support leaders in situ, where they live and work. This has proven to be exceptionally prescient as we supported our first cohorts to lead their organizations during this past year through the COVID-19 challenges. We are honored that the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation joined with the University of Edinburgh as founding partners in providing support that allows us to offer this program to the most worthy candidates, regardless of their ability to pay. We launched just 1 year ago in 2020 with our first cohort of 6 leaders, some of whom you're meeting today, and have just welcomed a second cohort of 8 new leaders. Together, these 14 colleagues come from 13 different countries from every major region and include ocean educators, finance experts, lawyers, policymakers, national directors of conservation and government, leaders as CEOs, founders of NGOs, and more. So please do go and meet them at the Ocean Leaders website, which is on the slide behind me, and you can find that. Now, coming to today, the vision was always to support and accelerate exceptional ocean professionals so they can go on and scale up positive actions that are needed around the world. In this spirit, today's event has been developed and organized by our first cohort of ocean leaders as they shape ideas and amplify actions to empower other diverse leaders who may not currently or easily receive the recognition they all deserve. With that, I pass back to our chair, Charlie Gough, and to our speakers to explore this crucial and exciting arena. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Meriwether. Wonderful to hear about the Ocean Leaders program and ocean leadership from your perspective.
Thank you.
We have our first technical hiccup of the afternoon, and that is that Lalao has just experienced a power cut in Madagascar. So I'm going to pass to our next speaker, Dr. Easkey Britton. Easkey is a marine social scientist whose research seeks to explore the relationship between people and the oceans. Easkey is also a professional surfer, and as well as her research being deeply influenced by the ocean, she brings a wealth of experiences of leadership, both in pioneering women's big wave surfing in Ireland, but also introducing surfing to women in Iran. Easkey, I'm super excited to hear more about your perspectives on ocean leadership and what it means to you.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Yeah, I almost had a tech hiccup in Ireland too, so it could happen anywhere. Such an honor and privilege to be here and a part of this really important and powerful conversation with you all. Yeah, as Charlie said, my work focuses on intersectionality and female leadership in the ocean space, especially around restoring the ocean as a safe and inclusive space for women and girls. Women remain largely invisible in ocean spaces and sectors. For example, women and children are 14 times more likely to die or get injured in unnatural or natural disasters due to unequal access to resources. And it's a risk that's greatly heightened in coastal regions where the climate crisis is hitting hardest. But the tide is turning, and there are women-led initiatives that are overcoming the barriers to accessing and experience the benefits of the sea and to establish this deeper connection, often vis-a-vis ocean sports and recreation and citizen science. And this supports them to become confident voices and stewards and leaders for the ocean. Gender equality, as we know, is key to sustainability. So I want to just share with you some snapshots of examples of female ocean leadership in action. So women have proven capabilities as activists, leaders, and conservationists, and offer unique insights and also more nuanced understandings of our ocean relationship. Images you see here are from sea sisters in Sri Lanka and the first female surfers of Sri Lanka in areas hardest hit by the 2004 tsunami, leaving a legacy of fear. Sea sisters, through establishing ocean stewardship, learning vital water safety skills, surfing and swimming, they're restoring the ocean as a safe and inclusive space. In the words of Sanu, one of the surfers you see here seated on her surfboard, she says that for girls, there are many expectations. They tell you to help at the house, study, get a job, marry, have children, stay mostly at home. They say Sri Lankan girls don't surf, but this is not really me. When I'm in the ocean, I can hear my own voice. And this reclaiming of power and community leadership through positive ocean experiences is mirrored in somewhere like Iran. Here you see some of the first female surfers of Iran, and through the Be Like Water program, they've shared some of their experiences of their relationship with the ocean. In the words of Shireen Girami, pictured here riding a wave, the sea is medicine in so many ways. For Shala Yassini, she says, every time I catch a wave, I feel fuller. If I go with the sea, there will be no barriers. Another initiative, I Am Water, founded by Hanley Prinsloo, restoring the ocean as an inclusive space in South Africa through ocean education, life-saving water skills, and immersion in local coastal waters for youth, primarily from communities who've been systematically excluded from benefits of access to the ocean for generations. And there are just so many innovations and enterprises that I want to share that are female-led around ocean solutions, combining sustainability, community, practices like regenerative ocean farming, and even kelp. But there isn't the time to do that right now here. Although I will spotlight another one called Urban Ocean Lab, co-founded by Dr. Ayanna Johnson in New York, flipping the script on our human relationship with ocean in cities. And drawing on Dr. Johnson's work, I just want to emphasize that the same patriarchal power structures that oppress women and girls and non-binary also wreak havoc on our ocean. And so we need gender just solutions for ocean health and our health. And it's not only about what we do, but how we want to be in the world. I just stopped screen share for a sec. I'll leave it with these images. To quote Rebecca Solnit, the old certainties are crumbling fast, but danger and possibility are sisters. So this place of peril and possibility that we find ourselves calls for new ways of being in the world. So to be more present, open, vulnerable, to be curious and connected, to just show up despite the fears, doubt, and uncertainties we're all facing. And the kind of leadership the ocean needs now must be more imaginative, representative, inclusive, holistic, collaborative, with local to global, global to local solutions. And any solution must heal systemic injustices rather than deepen them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Easkey.
A whistle stop tour.
That was great and so inspiring. Thank you so much. We have, unfortunately, our second technical hitch of the evening. So I'm glad that, Easkey, you managed to sort it out in Ireland. But unfortunately, our next speaker, Tyler Ray, hasn't been able to join us. Her connection's unstable. She's calling in from the Pacific, so from Fiji, I think. So I'm going to move us on to our next speaker, which is Dr. Harriet Harden Davies, a fellow Edinburgh Ocean Leader. Harriet is a researcher at the University of Wollongong and at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. Harriet advises international organizations and governments and leads international science and policy working groups within the Deep Ocean Stewardship Initiative and the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. Harriet, thank you for coming along this afternoon. I'm so interested to hear more about your perspectives on ocean leadership, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Charlie, and hello, everyone. In preparing for this panel, I sat down with a cup of tea, as I often prepare for things, and I asked myself, what do I know about ocean leadership? I reflected on some of the leadership roles that I've had. from being a dive master in the Mediterranean to a program manager of a science academy in Australia and a few things in between. But I was struck by this familiar sensation, this niggling question about whether I fit the category of leader. I think some people call this the imposter syndrome. I don't know if any of you or anyone watching has ever felt that before. Well, I have. Publishing papers, making a stand on things, and speaking in public, particularly on live broadcasts to an unknown group of people. But I didn't always know that I wasn't the only person feeling like this. And let me tell you a little story about that. About 6 years ago, I was about to walk onto a stage, and I confessed to a colleague that I was feeling really nervous. Their response was, and I quote, "Harriet, you're delusional. You seem confident." This wasn't helpful to me. In fact, it was confusing. But luckily, I asked someone else. I pulled the courage to approach someone who I'd admired for many, many years. This person was something of an ocean conservation rock star, TED Talk regular. And I asked them if they ever felt nervous about speaking. And their response was, "Of course, I feel nervous every time before I give a talk." Now, even though I'd been in leadership roles for many years, that was the first time that I'd ever heard someone say that they sometimes felt nervous before speaking. And it was also the first time that a more experienced person had started to open up about the tools they use to overcome those types of challenges. And it didn't end there. This person actually invited me to speak at a workshop, one with real experts. I just started my PhD, and this was really exciting. But my response to the invitation was, "I think you've made a mistake. I've only just started researching this topic, and I don't think I know what I'm talking about." And they replied to me, "Harriet, you need to stop being so humble. If you want to work on ocean conservation and science policy, just get out there." This again was very helpful advice. And this person gave me a platform to practice. And they also became something of a mentor to me. Now, why am I sharing this rather personal story so publicly? Well, I'm sharing this because I think these types of things are things that hold people back from recognizing their own potential as leaders and reaching that potential. When I reflect on the leadership experiences that I've had, myself and through organizations around me, people leading thought, leading change, and leading organizations ranging from universities to NGOs and intergovernmental organizations and many in between. Three things strike me as being really crucial for supporting emerging ocean leaders: passion, people, and practice. Passion for the ocean has been a driver for me my whole life, and it's been an incredible way of connecting with like-minded people. People, in my experience, who lift and empower others and help others to find their voices and use it are the most effective leaders of change and of thought. Not those who are necessarily out in front or in control all the time, but those who make space and enable others. And finally, practice. There are skills that we can all practice to be better at what we do. For me, it's been practicing public speaking, it's been practicing coaching, it's been being mentored and starting to mentor others, and reflecting on the types of leaders that we all are. And in conclusion, I just wanted to echo the comments of Mr. Wenden in opening this panel to encourage more of us to think of ourselves as leaders. I think that's the beginning. And then the next step is then, what types of barriers do we need to break down so that all those leaders can reach their potential once they've recognized it in themselves? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Harriet. And I think there's many people amongst us on the panel, but also out there in the audience that will recognize themselves in what you've just said. So thank you for sharing. I'm going to pass next to our next panelist, Olivier Sogita, who's the founder and country director of Planet Indonesia, Nuvia's work sits at the nexus of social, economic, and environmental justice. She works closely with local communities in Indonesia to manage and safeguard the marine and terrestrial ecosystems. And Planet Indonesia works with over 30,000 community members to safeguard more than 1.2 million hectares of marine and terrestrial habitat. Nuvia, we're super excited to hear from you about your experiences of ocean leadership in Indonesia and what it means within the communities that you work with. So over to you to share.
Good evening, everyone. It's the evening now here. Thank you for this opportunity. Such a great honor that I got invited to talk and to share my my work journey, and as I am now as leading the organization based in my hometown. I would like to I would like to share my my PowerPoint. Okay. Yes, I'm very honored to talk to you all today, and then also I would like to share my work-life journey at the intersection of community development, cultural preservation, and conservation for over 15 years, which I mostly focus in West Borneo of Indonesia. The most important thing is that these experiences taught me to always to be responsible for the aspect of approach working with the community, in addition to being able to see the potential synergy of all approaches to respect for local dynamic and progressive values. I first discovered about community development work through a NGO in West Kalimantan, Borneo, focused working that time for community empowerment through community material culture of development in the revitalization of traditional textile in the local community. And then this textile is widely known as ikat, textile weaving is known as ikat weaving, which later became my biggest passion for preserving indigenous community cultural heritage as well as improving local community well-being. This cultural preservation project been giving me many advantages for my career development through not only firsthand working in the different values and aspect of this project, it was also allowing me to build a relationship with the people who own the culture. Through time to time, working with the mostly women, all the weavers, teaching me about their practices about this tradition. Once I was leading a documentary film about the project and working closely with an elder weaver who I convinced to follow all activity to be taken by camera according to the timetable. But at the end, she was showing me to see and respect the artist, which was herself, and to determine that the piece of work that we are recording is a piece of art, and then it has to be done according to what she thinks, because she's the one who the artist, she's the one who knows what has to be done. So what the thing is, I'm explaining this is about because through all those, through the experiences that that happened in my past work, taught me how to be how to be respectful towards to the community, towards to the environment, towards to all the connected living culture, living life surrounding them. Which is like this experience has been helping me also to strengthen my capacity of a leadership to look and to listen more carefully about local value, which can help that I believe help me in making decisions to build a better intervention to work with the community which I'm working with. Oh, sorry. Okay, through this cultural project, I was actively taking part, in establishing the weaving cooperative and sending a major contribution to establishment a museum together with the community in that region. At the beginning of the work also, that I was so much involved in a different level of work in the project, and that is teaching me, like it's very important that also like that we as also in to strengthen the capacity in the leadership, that we also need to be involved in a detail in all the stages of processes, especially when we have to make decision. So in a combination completing my job, so that I earned my degree in my hometown, at the university in my hometown. And also, I got also opportunity from Ford Foundation, sent me to study in America. And then that is to study about anthropology theories that related to anthropological work, which later aspired me of important fundamental in my next bigger role in community empowerment and conservation works in my home island. Empowering community through cultural preservation project, allowing me to see the work of community development takes some time and cannot be done in a sort of time. It is not only accommodating of a behavior change in the community, also it's about a long-term commitment with the community. The weaving project, with the outcome of preservation of the weaving textile itself, or the organization itself for the weavers, and also like like a depository house, like displaying ethnographies object in the region. The most of it, like the outcome of that project, is like it's upholding that the tradition in that region, and then in the meantime also it's bringing the caste into the villages, and at the same time as well raising awareness to look after their environment. By explaining this, I believe that we have, when we are working with the community, we have to sit together within the community to recognize what the most valuable of their resources and to make them proud. It is very important to work on an aspect strengthening the local value. For more than 15 years ago, from 35 weavers and then grown to 1,500 weavers committing to this weaving cooperative. It's indeed, it's an achievement achievement in my career developments, and then which also that make me believe this the approaches can be applied as well in a different areas, in a different objects, in a different subject. So that's why in 2014 I decided to establish my own organization called Yayasan Planet Indonesia, based in Kuburaya District, West Kalimantan. So through Planet Indonesia, I am focusing on work on the important sector of community empowerment and conservation, because I believe all community empowerment works can deliver to community well-being and cannot be separated from the aspect environment sustainability. With Planet Indonesia, I adopt the weaving cooperative approach, which manifested to conservation cooperative under conservation community business services that I integrated with the conservation works, with the aims to create a better economic and bring welfare for the community while maintaining the good environmental condition and all local resources of the community. My role now at Yayasan Planet Indonesia as director, I actively works with my staff in the coastal and the terrestrial sites in the West Kalimantan, with a diverse community ranging from fishermen, farmers, crafters, and traders. And then I still keep my passion and dream alive to empower the local community that will improve community well-being as well as environment sustainability. Now, back to my previous contribution of preservation of the material culture in my region, that the weaving cooperative is reaching reaching some numbers, and there are lots of challenges. These challenges also help me to see how can help that me in a better implementing the intervention through Yayasan Planet Indonesia with the community where we are working in the coastal areas. And then in the meantime, especially in Indonesia, like the support, the practices of NGOs is still in having lots of challenging in the different level as well, because of not only the government authorities have their own have on the way how to see to build a nation, but also like how also like to have a long-term support from the funding agencies, because working with the community is not about like making it like in 2 years, 3 years. It's sometimes like we have to find out, because like we have to find out the needs, what is what we have to facilitate to fulfill the needs in the community, and then that can help us to define the time. So NGOs practices within in some country, especially in Indonesia, is actually like what I believe is responding to the country authorities, to build the nation together, but you know, not in the style of from the top to the bottom, but it can also come from the initiation from the community. So at the moment, like in Planet Indonesia, we are using the conservation cooperative, which I adopted from the weaving cooperative, which I believe can bring commitment from many members of community. And then in the last 6 years now, we are reaching out about 3,000 beneficiaries in the coastal and terrestrial areas. And then now we are establishing about like 18 conservation cooperative, and we are facilitating them and then also growing together with them. What this means for Yayasan Planet Indonesia, that together with community is establishing a sustainable structure for economic resilience oriented to environment for the villages leaders. So about the ocean conservation, so about the ocean leaderships, it's mean like the ocean, in my opinion, like it is something like it's like I see it also like how these weavers upholding the tradition to continue to weave their material cultures, and then at the same time also, but they have to bring also something that benefit them to improve the quality of their life. So the coastal project also, this is that together with the community in the coastal, so we going to save, to protect the importance of the ocean for the community, and in the meantime also can also give benefit to the community. So I am very grateful until now that I am all the experiences been giving me so much advantages to help me to see different perspective, different see like how to be to see in a synergic and how to see that the program can be approached, and then it has to be appropriate to the local value, and then also it has to be a progressive. And then and also I am very grateful what I have now, because that this experience, my experiences like taking me now and then allowing me to meet the different people, different experiments, these different responsibilities, which is make me feel like rich and then fortunate, because that's allow me to make contribution of the expertise that I have. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Nubi. Particularly what struck me was really around what you were saying about how pride and passion in people's work really is where leadership flourishes. So really interesting to hear from your leadership experience there. I'm going to move us to our next panelist. Nubi, if you want to, could you just stop sharing your screen just so the next panelist can
yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to Lalao Aigrette. Whilst we've now got her back online and there's electricity in Tanna. So Lalao obviously works with me at Blue Ventures. Lalao's been working with local coastal communities in Madagascar for 13 years, promoting nature and human rights-based solutions to preserve and sustainably manage mangrove forests. She helped to set up Tahiri Hunku, which is the world's largest community-led mangrove carbon conservation project. And Lalao's been recognised as an IUCN Natural Born Heroine for her outstanding contribution to conservation in Madagascar. And she's recently been selected for the first Women of the Environment Africa Leadership Cohort 2021, an initiative which celebrates women at the heart of the African environmental movement. Lalao, I'm going to pass the floor to you to tell us about your experiences of ocean leadership in Madagascar.
Okay, thank you, Charlie, and really sorry for the technical problem that this is fixed now. It is raining in Tana, and there was a power cut, but I am back now. So I will share my screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, all good, Lalao.
Okay. Okay, thank you. As Charlie said, I have been working for Blue Ventures and working with communities for 13 years right now. And from the year that I joined Blue Ventures, I was the only woman working on the conservation team. And I was also, if I wasn't the first, I was the second Malagasy woman leading village meeting at the rural area. And it wasn't comfortable because the local norm still respecting the man and the elder to run the meeting. But when the community saw me and see me leading the meeting, they were very surprised because they didn't think that women can lead a meeting. We didn't know that. And when I do the field work on the mangrove, even the community thought that, is this is this women work? We were thinking that only man can do this job. And they are really surprised when seeing me. But I didn't step back on that because if I did step back, maybe the women on the community cannot see and cannot learn that women can lead a meeting, women can conduct field research. And as I have managed to bring women along with me on the conservation activities, women from the communities. One of that is Alfin. I would like to share with you a story of Alfin. Alfin is a fisherwoman from the southwest of Madagascar, and she doesn't have a really high level of education, but she's really passionate on the conservation. She's currently responsible for she's currently a CSE. You can see on the back of her uniform. This is a committee surveillance and evaluation who are conducting mangrove forest patrol and monitoring at the village and in the mangrove forest with man, of course. And even me, I am very surprised on her leadership on this because she's leading the activities with the man. And about people always think that patrol is a man or a male job. And when I was attending one meeting organized by NGO partner in Madagascar, the meeting purposes was to build capacity of local patroller on the protected area. And all of them were invited at the capital of Antananarivo. In total, about 100 people, and all of them are men, zero women. So I asked a question on the organizer and on the attendee of that workshop, asking, where is the women? There is no women doing these activities. And the response was, no, this is not women's job. Women cannot do this. And I was like, is that true? But we can see that women can do this. We can see Alfin's story. She can do it. She can do it with the man. So there is no job there is no specific job for men and women, but everyone can do everything regardless of gender. And one of one of the project activities, mangrove replanting, and the community's rule or norm still think that mangrove replanting is this is a women's job, and the men do not do this. But the women demonstrated their engagement in doing these activities and demonstrated their leadership on this one. And they are really motivated to do it, not only for their benefits, but benefits for the environment and also benefits for the man and everyone. And but thanks to the leadership of the women on these activities, their leadership has inspired the over group of communities, including the man or the youth. Currently, we do have the same number of participants on these activities. So this story told us that there is no criteria to be a leader. From the story that I shared with you, everyone can be a leader regardless of gender or work, or if you are a community or you are scientists, you are officials, or I think I only have 5 minutes. I think that I'm not over the time, and I am hand back to Charlie. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lalao. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's wonderful to see how leadership can be across genders, across educational backgrounds. It's in everyone, as Olivier said at the beginning. I'm going to pass it on to our final speaker. Unfortunately, Tyler Ray hasn't been able to join us. So Yolanda Sanchez, another Edinburgh Ocean leader, and also the co-founder and director of the Latin American Marine Educators Network, Relato. Yoli is passionate about the role of marine literacy education, communication and community engagement in ocean conservation. And she works to develop education programs that allow participants to use ocean knowledge in decision-making in their daily lives and to inspire others. So Yoli, tell us more about your experiences of leadership.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And hi, everybody. I am very happy to listen to all your talks and your experience. And thanks also for the great pictures. In time of COVID, it's really great to see pictures of people working with the communities on different places of the world. So thank you. And first of all, I would like to thank also the organization for this invitation. As my friend for the Edinburgh Ocean Leaders, Harriet, said, also the Imposter Syndrome has been following me since I was invited to this amazing event, asking myself about how much should I be here today talking to you about something called leadership. And I still don't know if I deserve the name of leader. But I must confess that I have great happiness to be here sitting today, sharing with you part of my experience, and represented hundreds of marine educators who love their jobs. So understanding how the ocean influences on our life and how we influence the ocean daily is the definition of ocean literacy. But in what moment of our life did we learn that? In my case, it took me 2 years studying marine science with a lot of maths and physics, and to understand how much important the ocean is in our lives, and especially to understand how little we know about that. That situation made me decide to become a person who built bridge to connect the ocean with people, promoting ocean conservation. I started in Chile, working with schools and tourists as my formal job, but soon I started to get involved in every opportunity that led me to do more to increase ocean literacy levels. I guess that having this energy and illusion for my job, making connections and collaborations, being available for everything and involving anyone who passes through my way and making more every day to bring every opportunity to the next level is why some people gave me the name of leader. it is amazing to design education activities and implement them or evaluate and see if it works or not. But there are many publics, so I need allies. And this is how I started to design programs, not only to share information and talk about how to use this information, but to build capacities for the people to share this information and passion. During many years, I worked together with different teams to create programs to empower young ocean lovers and develop leadership capacities. Today, those groups of young leaders are still confirmed in some of the most highlighted marine protected areas in Chile, being in charge of educating their community on ocean topics to make responsible decisions. And being a marine educator and see change is something really incredible. I really love my job, but I want to share with you that it has challenges. The lack of funds is always surrounding marine education. And when we talk about initiatives that need years to see result, it takes time. Another common barrier is the vision that many people have about being an environmental educator, imagining that everybody can do it. Raise your hand, please, if you have heard about scientists giving a talk full of technical terms to 8-year-old students, or if you have saw an ocean book for kids developed without asking any kids and their interest in. So this situation can increase the distance between information and people instead of creating connections, giving us the opposite results that we are looking for. So it's so necessary to recognize marine education as a profession. And I know that many people in ocean conservation talk about the necessity of ocean literacy, but not all of them understand the necessity of design effective marine education programs and the support that marine educators need. All these ideas make me realize the necessity of conversation between marine educators to share ideas and experience and difficulties, etc., and work together to strengthen the profession. So I participate in the United States and European networks of marine education, and I received a lot of support and advice to continue growing. But after a couple of years of being involved on those networks, I realized the necessity of having a network that represent Latin American experience. So I decided to create the Latin American Marine Educators Network called Relato. First of all, I must confess that I had a big issue because the idea of being Spanish, creating that network, even though if I live in Chile for 8 years, is imposter syndrome knocking on the door again. But that issue wasn't big enough to stop me with the idea that I feel really necessary. So my solution was to be sure to integrate as many voices as possible in the development of this network, involving educators, asking and listening to their ideas and proposals. My first support was Celeste Kroger. She's my friend, marine educator expert, and co-founder of the network. To start, we decided to design a survey for educators about their expectations and the structure of the network. We got 150 responses across Latin America that allow us to design the network. Months later, we integrate country coordinators who lead on their countries, invited to their experience with their initiative and experience in outreach, and they help us to share Relato spirit on their places. 1 year later, thanks to the support of Edinburgh Ocean Leaders and the University of Edinburgh and all those country coordinators, we got a fund to study and understand marine education in Latin America and the Caribbean, which has resulted in the first marine education conference in the region, which will take place virtually in May. So today we are 350 members on the network. The network that just 1 year ago, it was a dream, an illusion. And we have 89 marine educators registered for this conference, wishing to share the experience and learn from others and discuss common concerns. So today I'm happy, even if the syndrome continues being my shadow, to feel responsible for this conference. In my experience, being a leader is being enthusiastic, work with passion, have hope, believe in your ideas, and surround yourself with great leaders and experts that believe in your dreams. So thank you very much. I just want to take 30 seconds more to share a couple of pictures about what I'm talking about. Give me 1 second. So those are some of the country coordinators that are helping us to develop this network. I'm really grateful to all of them. And I want also to share with you this poster for the next conference that will be, as I say, the first one in Latin America. So it's a great opportunity to connect initiatives and continue growing. And it doesn't stop here. So I need all of you in this movement. So I hope that you can come with us during this ocean literacy way. And now, thank you so much.
Sorry, I lost my Zoom for a moment then. Thanks so much, Yoli. Again, so inspiring. And yeah, really the leaders of the future are those that we inspire through education. So you're doing a fantastic job, and it's really great to see the network taking off. I'm going to ask now the panelists if any of them would like to just take a moment to reflect on any of the presentations that they've seen this afternoon, and just volunteer to add a couple of comments, anything that resonated with you during those presentations. Harriet, do you want to volunteer?
Happy to get the ball rolling. I had to take a moment there just to let some of that sink in. It was so such a joy to hear so many experiences, and a couple of the things that really struck out from Easkey's presentation onwards was the role of young women. I think Lalao spoke to this, as did Novia and Yoli as well, and I think that the way in which sort of we're seeing, women inspiring younger women really seemed to come out really strongly. It was also lovely to hear other people confessing to the feelings of the imposter syndrome and just sharing really practical ways of overcoming that. And I was particularly inspired by the comments that Lalao made about women being leaders for perhaps the first time in some places and taking those steps. So that was really inspiring as well for me. So thank you so much. And I see Easkey's unmuted, so I will stop talking and hand over.
I just wanted to give I totally agree with everything you said and everything I've heard. I just letting it settle into me. I feel just so inspired and privileged to be in this space. And I think this is part of what we need, these spaces where in particular women can come together, but such a diversity and richness of perspective. And I just feel so nourished by it. And that's what's essential, especially for young women, is the mentoring and the mentorship. So it's really incredible to hear the power of that in action, like the impact that has, and real lived examples, like it's happening, but we need more support for that. And also just to hear women's voices more. You can't, it's so true, you can't be what you can't see. And yet there are those pioneering women always, to be the first to break ground, but then there needs to be this celebration of that, and definitely more visibility and more voice given in these spaces around the Ocean Decade, in particular around the SDGs and around the climate narrative. And the quote unquote experts should be leaning into women and women's voices and perspectives and expertise more and more. And not just women, I mean, the whole diversity as well within that, Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Do any of the other panelists want to add anything? Any other reflections?
I absolutely agree with Harriet. And what's your name? Easkey?
Yeah, Yoli.
Sorry. Absolutely agree. Like we are here and we have been the whole week talking about the Ocean Decade and how to listen to voices. And today we had this small but great space to talk about our experience. And I think that in each of our talks, there were some fights, some, how to explain, it's like they show some, every talk showed a little bit warrior in many different fights. Like we have been confronting many different situations that we have to, so where we have to survive. So I'm very happy to listen to all those situations and how each of you make your ways to arrive to the point that you really wanted from the beginning, even if you cross it with a lot of people who say that you cannot or it's not possible or something like that. So congratulations to all of you for your work, and thank you so much for that space.
Hi, I'm just going to make a comment on Novia's presentation. It was really rich, and I was really struck by the way you sort of opened it and explained your journey through starting with the people, I don't know if it was all women, working on the ICAT material and the weaving, and this idea of starting with a culture and a tradition in art, that something that is both sacred and safe, and something that requires organization, something that requires collective thinking, something that requires leadership, and how you were able to transform that spirit of community and craft, literally, but metaphorically, into your work on with conservation with Planet Indonesia, and kind of bringing that community spirit from a place of experiential understanding and knowledge to a new place, but using, in this case, the weaving, and you're learning even about how to organize, groups of people to do different jobs. So I thought that really was quite special, between the art, the community organization, and that transference from something familiar to something new. So I will really hold on to that. Thank you. And I know from spending time in Madagascar, there's similar stories where maybe the women are not surfing yet in Madagascar. We have to get Easkey over there. But, going from working in the village and the home to the mangroves and on the reef flat, they are maybe not still the fishers in the water, but that moving from something comfortable to something new, and how, again, with the locally managed marine areas in Madagascar, how having something like the octopus fishing or the aquaculture or the mangroves gives some purpose to the term conservation and the term marine protected area. So I really enjoyed that from you as well, Lalao.
Thanks, Meriwether. I'm just conscious of time, so I'm going to move us on and pass over to Hugo for the Q&A. I think Hugo's going to introduce himself quickly just to give himself an introduction of who he is, and then jump into giving some great questions to the panelists.
And how brave he is to be here with all these women.
Thank you very much, Charlie. And I will introduce myself properly in a minute, but I first of all wanted to say sort of what a privilege it is, and how interesting and inspiring it's been to hear the powerful experiences and testimonies from all of the panelists. It's fantastic and incredible sort of approaches and insights on supporting people, on making space for people and new leaders, community pride, culture, local expertise and knowledge, the patriarchy that exists in the ocean space, not least the surfing space, in this male sort of dominated sphere, and the need to change that, and confidence, and the confidence in finding a voice, and the nervousness that that people have talked about on the panel, which I have experienced too and hidden for a long time in my in my career. So thank you. I'm Hugo Tagham. I run an NGO called Surfers Against Sewage in the UK. We don't just focus on surfing or sewage. We work on various ocean issues, from marine plastics to marine recovery and ocean and climate issues. But we are all about people and planet and empowering people. We have a network of regional leaders around the country running community initiatives in over 130 locations. We reach 1 million school children and enable and empower them and empower their voice with our education program. We founded the Plastic Free Communities movement here in the UK in 700 locations, and we work with 100 volunteers every year around the coastline. So it's very much about bringing out and empowering people to be able to find their voice and participate and lead at a local community level. But I wanted to start by asking some questions to the panelists, and we are pressed for time, so it may be fairly quick fire. But first of all, I wanted to ask Harriet a question. What are the barriers preventing currently marginalized voices from fully participating in major ocean decisions?
Thanks, Hugo. Because I spoke a little bit about the barriers that, in my opinion, hinder people from recognizing themselves as leaders, I'll focus on the barriers that I sort of see in the systems of having those voices heard, assuming that they're there ready to speak. I think there's several, including, I think, even just barriers to entry around language, time zones, platforms. There's lots of things that we're all seeing on a daily basis in the current scheme of work. I think there's also challenges around take, for example, I work on international processes a lot, and there's often very small delegations having to deal with a lot of different issues at one time. And I think that the more we can do to sort of amplify those voices and draw connections between ocean, climate, fisheries, different things, and enable that sort of drawn up approach, the better. And I think sort of critically, it's about finding common languages as well as focus areas as we try to sort of link together a number of issues we've heard today, from gender equity to local environmental restoration. So I think some of those are the key things we can think about to really sort of try to break down some of those barriers to entry into discussions around decision making and ensure all those voices are being heard.
Thank you very much. Can I come on to the next question? And I'll ask this of Easkey. We've got some questions that we've pre-prepared, and we've also got questions that are coming in through the chat. So please, for the viewers watching, do put your questions in the chat, and we'll try and field those to the panel. But I'm interested on how we can better identify, enable, and amplify emerging ocean leaders to have a more prominent voice this decade. And I'll put that to Easkey. You're on mute.
I knew that was going to happen at least once.
Always one.
Welcome to Zoo. You said, how can we better identify, enable, and like a three-parter? Was there Hugo?
Yeah, it's let me ask you the question again, and please do take a moment to reflect on that. But it's how can we better identify, enable, and amplify emerging ocean leaders to have a prominent voice this decade?
Yeah, I think that's going to be an essential process if we're to succeed at all with the Ocean Decade. And there's like three different approaches there. I mean, the identify one is clearly like with not much effort. We need to actually just be aware of who we're including and who's excluding, like who is not in the room, I suppose. Asking that question all the time at all these kinds of events is sort of key. And then creating the space like we've done here, having more opportunity for that to really amplify the voice. And those of us who are in that position, I think it's definitely time to pass the mic, seeing more of that happening. I think we could learn a lot in terms of how that shift in female leadership is already happening through the climate movement, through the movement for Black Lives Matter, and incredible sort of youth and female led leadership there, but also a whole kind of shift in, like I said before, how we do leadership, you know, and creating spaces that are definitely more collaborative rather than competitive, and allow for that diversity, which means we will also need to really unpack things like language that we use around making that more accessible and inclusive as well. So the short answer is in many different ways, and we need to do more of this.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take one of the questions from the chat now for the Ocean Leaders, and I'll ask this of Yolanda. Do you feel that we must also engage people living inland, and how this is particularly relevant to education? So do you feel that we must also engage people living inland on the ocean issue, and how do we do that?
That's a great question, and it has been a big barrier for marine education, because most of the program has always been focused on the places where they are directly connecting to the ocean. What has made things to the people that if you don't live next to the ocean, you don't have any connection with the ocean, and that's a really big mistake today, to think that even if we are inland, we are not connected to the ocean. So for sure, we have to start to share and design programs to help us to create these connections. For example, just something very simple like using the water cycle, like where's the rain that came to us today, where it comes from, and what is its connection with the ocean. So things like that, or things about the oxygen that we are breathing every day, and try to find those connections that we can have from the ocean, even if we are not next to the ocean directly. So yes, and in many research about marine education and ocean literacy levels, they have seen that for sure people who is disconnected in the ocean directly, they have less information because they think that they don't have responsibility about what happened in the ocean. And another example is about talking about rivers who crosses cities, big cities, and where the river will finish, and talk about that and design programs and education instruments that let us to introduce the ocean, to bring the oceans to inland.
Thank you very much. We have another question from the chat here, which I'd like to put to all of you, which is, could each of you tell us in a few words what attributes make a leader? Just let that settle for a moment. So could each of you tell us in a few words what attributes make a leader? Can I come to Lalao first, please?
Okay. I think from my story, I said that there is no criteria to be a leader. So for me, because I managed to bring some women from on the community along with me, so I am a leader because I can lead her with me, and she can be with me. But there is no criteria, or there is no like strict criteria to be a leader. Yeah, from my experience.
Thank you. Can I come to Novia next, please?
Thank you. I am also agree with Lalao. Yes, there's no right criteria for leaders, but in my opinion also, at least there's some something that you have to believe on. Like if you a person like to yoga, if you're like something like you believe it, and then leaders I think have to have some strong characters, such as especially if you are leading a movement, or a group of doing something for the community in Indonesia. You need someone like a leaders, like a progressive in the thinking, and also a great understanding. That's my
Thank you very much. Can I come to Harriet next? What do you think, and what are your thoughts on leadership qualities?
Thank you, Hugo. The comments from Novia and Lalao really resonated with me. I would add, I wrote down 4 dot points. The first was humility, of the very genuine kind, real humility, courage to overcome the challenges that you might face and to help others to do the same. Self-awareness, the ability to listen and help others find their voice, and flexibility. I think passion's really crucial in driving you. I think sometimes passion can lead us all to think we know exactly where we're going. I think a lot of the time that journey requires some winding on the way. And that's why I think flexibility is crucial as well.
Thank you. And Easkey, can I come to you next? What do you think and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is reflect back what I've heard, because you have all like these great ocean leaders here, and what's been coming up again and again is passion. Passion can also be, I think, what we're talking about is love. That's the motivation and the driving force. That's what's at the heart of leadership, and we kind of forget that. But also alongside that is this warrior, you know, that Yoli mentioned, and about the courage, that showing up despite the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you know. Yeah, they're big ones for me. And also then the other one would be when we are in these leadership positions and recognized as that, it's the power of listening, is a really, really important one too for me.
Thank you very much. And finally, Yoli, can I come to you?
Yes, most of the things has been said, but yes, first thing that I thought it was to be brave, to confront your own fears. Like don't stop where the fear came, or where someone tells you to don't continue. I think that when Harriet say humanity, I thought about empathy also, like all the time having this empathy to understand what are the feelings from the other side, what are the needs from the other side, and sometimes it's not about what you want to do, it's about what the people need and what they are asking for, and assume that sometimes they don't need you to do something. It's just, so I think that those are some of the words, and for sure energy to continue all the time being there and continue and having conversation and having a bad conversation and coming the next day to try to have the good one, and finally to have the capacity to listen all the time, to listen and integrate what you are listening to your decisions and your way of work.
Thank you, Yoli. And can I actually come to Meriwether to get your thoughts?
Oh, thank you. It's funny, I don't feel I'm entitled to have a voice because I'm just busy directing. But thank you. And appropriately, I think the first thing I thought was confidence. And then I kind of drew an arrow about risk, like being willing to take risk, but having that confidence, but then also kind of having a plan B, perhaps, because depending on the risk, it might not work, but then you learn from that. And you might think, okay, I have to try that a different way. But for what reason? Why? And that made me realize, you know, we're all different kinds of leaders. Some of us are shy, some of us are high energy, some of us we're just different ways of being who we are. And so being a leader, who you are, and then realizing you're a team of leaders and kind of working as a whole, you're like a power leader. So just that kind of being honest with who you are and feeling good about it and making it stronger, but realizing you might need a team to have a different part of who you aren't quite, even if you wish you were. So
Fantastic. Thank you all. I think I'm just about out of time on the questions. That's been fascinating, and thank you all for responding very rapidly to those questions which you weren't prepped for. So I'm going to hand you back to Charlie to give some reflections on the session, and thank you for the inspiration.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. It's been so inspiring to listen to you all, and such an interesting, inspiring set of presentations and contributions and answers to those questions. And I don't think I can actually summarize everything in my concluding remarks. But I think what really resounded for me was what we've seen and heard today is really just the tip of the iceberg of the breadth of leadership that is out there and that's working on these issues that are faced by the ocean, and also that is needed to be recognised and celebrated. And so it's really important that we do that whether that recognition and celebration is by others or just by yourself, as Harriet and others have said. Nuvia showed us that actually respecting leadership that can be expressed in different ways and by different cultures can help us to actually break the mold of who a leader is supposed to be, what they're supposed to look like and sound like. And what we need to do, as many have said, is break down the barriers, give people a platform to practice, support people to do something that they're passionate about, inspire and educate other people, whether that's by the coast or inland, about the importance of the ocean, but mostly to support other leaders to have the strength to overcome challenges, have the courage to stand up, and also and surround yourself with other people who are leaders in their own right. Finally, I guess, as many have said this afternoon, there isn't a set of criteria to be a leader. So I guess the most important thing that people have said is you get to define who a leader is, because it's you. And so, as Olivier said in his introduction, and a number of speakers have obviously said this afternoon, everyone is a leader and can be a leader. And it's about thinking about yourself as a leader. Having the passion and courage to do so will mean that if we show up today as leaders, we can help inspire the leaders of tomorrow. So finally, just a thank you to everyone for all of your time and thoughts, but also to the audience for the participation, for their comments and questions. Thank you to the Ocean Leaders Programme for helping us coordinate, and also to the Prince Albert of Monaco Foundation, Monaco Ocean Week organisers for the space that is so much needed to bring people together to have these conversations. And we really hope to have inspired everyone to think differently about who the leaders are that we need for the ocean. Finally, we've recorded the session, and the recording, along with more information, will be available on the Ocean Leaders website in the next few days. So thank you all and have a lovely evening.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Hope meet you with chances.
Bye. Have a nice night, baby.
Bye.